Behold, the White House press corps as of 1914. And here's the White House press corps 10 years later, 1924. The White House Correspondents Association says this is the White House press corps sometime in the 1950s. Do you notice something different here? Look, a lady. We found one. The White House press corps, which is the American people's line to the White House, has long been mostly dudes. In the 1940s, Marion Carpenter was the first female national press photographer. She broke part of the glass ceiling when she followed President Harry Truman around the world, starting in the 1940s. In 1960, the great Helen Thomas became the first female reporter to cover the White House. And over the years, more and more pioneering women have ascended to that journalistic height. But President Obama, from time to time, has put his own presidential spotlight on women in the White House press corps. The first time we really noticed it overtly was this past September, when he did a press conference in Wales. President Obama made a statement, and then he ended up taking 4 questions from the traveling American press.
I'll start with Julie Pace of Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Angela King, Bloomberg.
As you know, Secretary Kerry today
Julie Davis.
is the goal to ultimately, Secretary Kerry.
One last question. Colleen Nelson, Wall Street Journal.
Back in September, on his trip to Wales, President Obama took a grand total of 4 questions from the traveling White House press corps. He called on 4 reporters. They were all women reporters. And while that was neat on that international trip, it also was apparently just kind of a coincidence. Today, it was on purpose.
Josh has given me the who's been naughty and who's been nice list, and I'm going to use it to take some questions. And we're going to start with Carrie Buda, Brown of Politico. Cheryl, go ahead. Julie Pace, Leslie Clark, Roberta Rampton, Colleen McCain Nelson, Juliet Alsprin. April, go ahead.
April, go ahead. President Obama's year-ender press conference this afternoon lasted about 50 minutes. He took 8 questions. All of them were from female reporters. And it was on purpose. The press secretary later released this statement, quote, "The fact is there are many women from a variety of news organizations who day in and day out do the hard work of covering the President of the United States. As the questioner list started to come together, we realized that we had a unique opportunity to highlight that fact at the President's closely watched end-of-the-year news conference." Joining us now is April Ryan, White House correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks. She's the author of The Presidency in Black and White, My Up-Close View of 3 Presidents and Race in America. She was the 8th of 8 female correspondents called on by President Obama at today's presser. April, it's great to see you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
I have to ask you the impolitic question first, which is, are the guys mad?
Oh, yes. They are hot. They're seething. Earlier today, I was walking around the White House after the press briefing, after the press conference, and I walked up into the press secretary's office, his outer office area, and he couldn't see me because one of the gentlemen was very upset, one of the gentlemen from the front row. And when I walked into the press secretary's office and talked to those around the office, they said, oh, they've gotten many calls and many appearances from those in the front row who were upset. But you have to remember that they are the norm. They always get questions. And they were told prior to the press conference that they were not going to get questions. They had been asking questions leading up to the midterm elections. They've been getting a lot of questions. So they just felt, you know, putting the list together that, hey, let's just go on with this list of women.
When these lists come together, I mean, when you're just sort of watching these things happen as a news event, it can be a little unsettling to know that the president has a list of who he's going to call on in advance. Sometimes you see him struggling with the pronunciation of people's last names and stuff like that. And it does feel sort of unexpectedly choreographed. Do you, as a correspondent, does everybody else in that room have any role in lobbying to get on the list before these things happen? How did the list come together?
Well, let me say this. You watching feel uneasy about it. Many of us in the room feel uneasy about it. This really started back during the George W. Bush time. I remember being at the White House when President Clinton was there. We screamed. I was under the tutelage of those who had the loudest voices, got called on. And You know, I'm one of those women who have the loudest voices in the room, and because that works to your benefit. If you're seen or heard, if you wear strategic colors, sometimes you're noticed and you can get called on. There's certain little things that you can do to try, well, used to be able to do, that would help you have an advantage of getting called on. Well, during the George W. Bush time, President Bush at that time did not want to go through the hollering and screaming, and he started picking people. And it persisted into the Obama administration, and sometimes now the president will go off of his script, and sometimes reporters will ask, look, or email or a call or what have you, Josh or whomever, please, I have a question. I don't know if people would actually tell them their questions, but hey, sometimes people ask, look, I would like to ask the president a question. So it's a back and forth. It's really tough. It's really a tough situation.
April, the question that you asked today, I might be wrong, but I feel like you have asked him the same question phrased similarly years ago. You basically asked him about the state of Black America and what was the state of race relations in the country. Am I right that you've asked him this before at a previous press briefing?
Not in a press conference, but I had an Oval Office interview in December of 2009. It was a one-on-one in the Oval Office, and I was talking to the president about various issues, and it was just a couple of weeks away from his State of the Union address to the nation. And I asked him, as he was getting ready to give the State of the Union, what was the state of Black America? Because this president was someone that everybody was wondering, what did he feel about race? Because many in the White House said, you know, they don't want to talk about race a lot because it would amplify it more. They didn't want to go out amplifying it. They kept saying that he was the president of the United States who happened to be Black. And they also felt that race and politics would always follow him. And they wanted to make sure strategically that he wouldn't get bogged down with that, because that sometimes tends to take the conversation in another direction. So this president answered the question in 2009, in December of 2009, 6 years ago this month, and he basically hearkened to a statement in Charles Dickens saying it's the best of times and worst of times. And when he said the best of times, he said for African Americans, he said for those who have education, good education, it's a great time for opportunity. But for those who don't, there's unemployment. It's a bad time because there's unemployment problems and the lack of opportunity.
April Ryan, White House correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks, making a very strong case for why it's important for people to be there long enough to be able to ask those questions as benchmarks years apart, and making the case today that it's worth everything you can do to get your hand up there. April Ryan, well done. Nice to see you. Congratulations today. Thanks, April.
Rachel. Take care.
Straight ahead, we got the Friday Night News Dump, now with potentially a very time-sensitive oven mitt at stake. Please stay with us.